Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Lewis.
Welcome to the Rangers Journey.
Hello, good evening. Back to Monday again. We're nearly over the line for Christmas, thank goodness, and another day closer to the elusive January that we've been speaking about for a long time. We're here this evening. I'm joined by the two Billies, and I'm not going to make reference to that joke about the Billy Boys before we get on with that, before we get going. But I'll cover what we're going to call. We're going to call it Billy 1 and Billy 2. Will we go Billy J, Billy R?
Whatever, mate. Yeah, whatever. Billy. We usually on the news pod we go Billy J. If it's Jack hosting, just to kind of differentiate. So I think you're okay with Billy J, aren't you, Billy?
Billy Jack's fine, actually. It sounds like Billy Bob. I just sound like I come from like the deep south.
Yeah. Well, I can't even go Billy with here either, so I'm a bit snookered. So right, we'll go with Billy. Billy R, first of all, how are you, mate?
Yeah, okay, mate. I work outside all day, so I'm just glad to be inside for a change because it was minging the day with the weather. So, yep, happy to be here. Not particularly happy with the result, but we'll go through it.
Good. And Billy J, you doing okay as well, mate?
Yeah. Like it turns out that light at the end of the tunnel was the train we all feared. So we're kind of here to pick up the pieces.
Yeah. Well, listen, before we go on, I just want to say a welcome here to get a new member, James Fowler. So thanks very much for becoming a member of the show. You're very welcome, and we hope we do our very best to entertain you, mate, and hope many follow in your path. But what we're going to go...
Banner change, mate. We need to get rid of the green, get a blue banner for new members.
I certainly mean, I've had a choice of painting the colour of my grass in my garden, but anyway, that's just me. Anyway, we'll try and keep this as light-hearted as we possibly can, because obviously every Rangers fan, I'm sure, in the country is a wee bit disappointed with things as they're going on just now. But Billy, I'll come to you first of all. We're going to have a quick review of the Hearts game. We've got a couple of other things to speak about. We're going to have a wee chat about the Gerrard interview that was released today, and a couple of other things that I was wanting to bring up as well. But your first initial reaction when you saw the lineup yesterday, were you pleased when you first saw it? Do you think it was a bit light, too defensive? What were your initial thoughts?
I thought we needed to be a bit defensive. I thought they would come out the traps. They usually do anyway, but especially when they've got the bit between their teeth and the top of the league and looking to put a fourth old firm victory on the scoreboard. No, I wasn't. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with the team, is there? Injuries, Giga being away. I think I said in the Friday pod I suspected it would be like a back three, like Tab would come in, and that's what happened. Without doing a game review or whatever, I actually thought we started for the first 25-30 minutes. I thought we were okay, actually. We slightly had the better possession, and we obviously get the offside goal. I don't know if you want to talk about that in detail, but it seemed to change in the 5 minutes with just everything went out the window. And but by 2-0 at half time, I'm not one that says the game's gone, but I think we pretty much knew it was gone by that point.
Yeah. Any changes for yourself, Billy G, about the lineup itself? Were you happy with? Is that what you expected to see?
As happy as you can be with this bunch of players, I could see what Real was trying to do. It's not far off what I would have gone for. You know, it looked like we'd anticipated the whirlwind start. We were trying to keep it tight and sort of hit them on the break, if anything. And it actually looked, I was quite happy. I thought they were going to come right at us in the first 20 minutes. And I thought Real's game plan was working. But unfortunately, he's only got the tools in the box that he's got. So our limitations came to the fore, and Hearts didn't have to be great. They just had to be consistent.
Yeah, I think I was out there. So we'll talk about that. The goal that never was, Billy. Kind of view of it. I don't really know. I can't make a judgment call on it. I can't decide if it was onside or offside. Truth be told, the technology is not good enough to make a call either way.
That's exactly how I feel, mate. The on-field decision, I believe, was to award the goal, wasn't it? So there isn't enough evidence. I mean, we got it last season, I think, in one of their games where there was a ball went over the line, and did it go over the line, and the VAR team shouldn't have overruled the goal being given, but they did. I felt it was a bit like that yesterday. And, on paper, offside should be a binary thing. It should be he either is off or he's not. But as you say, we don't have the technology regards how they can show it to the fans. Maybe that's not there. and they've maybe got better technology they're using in the VAR room. I suspect they don't. They're just basing it off of lines. I think I read a comment today that there's so many individual points of failure with this VAR system, where people can interject their opinion on something that where did we start where's the contact made? Is it this slide, or is it one frame back? Where do we draw the lines in the VAR? They computerize. I don't really know how it works that way. Certainly, we've got the it's not good enough to overturn a decision like that for me. So that's disappointing that it gets ruled off, and I think the game probably pans out differently if it isn't.
Yeah. You with that as well, Billy J, that had the goal stood, could have been a totally different day for us yesterday.
Could have been. Given that we actually gave Hearts a massive helping hand, that who's to say we wouldn't have kind of done that anyway. I would echo what Billy said about the standard of the VAR. When I initially saw it, I wondered, like, from just the eye test, I was like, I wonder if he's been offside. The more I see it, the less offside he looks. And if the decision, you're supposed to favour the attacker, if you can't show it's offside, then you have to give the goal. The thing that melts my mind, and it's like it's tin pot of Scottish football as ever. When they brought in VAR, as I recall it, what they said was some grounds have more camera positions and the capacity for better VAR than others. But what we're going to do to make it fair is we're going to standardise the VAR coverage to the worst ground. So we're going to put like maybe 6 cameras in, whatever, so that everyone has the same crap standard. Instead of saying like half the grounds could have a better standard and some could have a slightly better standard and some have got the lower standard, will all have the lower standard, which is how are you supposed to improve the game and improve the standard that the sort of product fans are getting when you're choosing to go with the worst version so that we all have a crap version instead of some of us having a better standard? If your ground doesn't have the camera positions, it's the same as a pitch. Put in different camera positions, upgrade your ground, and then you'll get better VAR. So for me, it was disappointing. It could have been a game changer, but I don't know. This team's so flaky that it might have ended up 2-1 anyway. To be honest, I can't honestly say that this team's shown that when they get a goal, they suddenly become Real Madrid or anything. They might have gone on and won it, or they might have done that thing that they've done in a lot of games where once they get ahead, they seem to switch off and think they've done the job, in which case Hearts would have just steamrollered them anyway. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're 100% spot on. I mean, I've seen instances before where there's silly stuff that happens. Like you get rounds of the Scottish Cup and you get rounds of the League Cup where certain grounds have actually got VAR provided for them in the same round of the Cup as other teams, and it's almost like other teams are getting an advantage because they've got a better, stadium facility, they've got better, camera facilities in there. It's either here in perfection or it's not here at all. And for me, there's too many things going on. There's even a show that gets held every single month that Sky Sports produce, goes onto YouTube, and it's Gordon Duncan and it's Willie Collum, and they actually sit down and go over mistakes. That's how many mistakes there are. There's actually enough mistakes to make a monthly show out of it, which is ridiculous in itself. And purely if they can't get the decisions right with the need of with the assistance of technology, just go with the human side of it, because we can't moan about human error. What we can moan about is even with the technology when they get it wrong. That's for me when it's absolutely nuts. There's obviously calls here for semi-automated stuff in there, and I think somebody's actually made a comment here. Can we actually afford it? Probably not, but we need to find the money from somewhere if we're going to have it, because if we can't carry on the way it is just now, Scotland are going to get, the SFA are going to get a lot of money from Scotland participating in the World Cup this year. Let's put that money to good use to improve the standard within our game. They'll probably trickle it down. I'm sure there'll be quite a lot of strange decisions when it comes to what they're going to use the money for, as there usually is with that kind of side of things. But it's daft. But anyway, we'll come to yourself again, Billy. Rangers still remained on the first foot, and I think it was a great chance came from Mikey Moore. He said a shot deflected. Keeper said a half-decent save. We couldn't take advantage of the rebound there. Do you think Mikey Moore suits playing in the middle more? I worry that we put an onus too much on an 18-year-old boy. I think we should be looking at other people. The spread of responsibility should be further within the team rather than putting it all on the shoulders of a young boy.
100%, mate. But he is obviously a good player. We're seeing that now. it's not his fault. He's having to kind of take the games by the scruff of the neck because, let's face it, you've got internationals in that team yesterday that couldn't make passes, 10-yard passes properly, and would have no inclination, or no, I'm talking about Raskin here, having no inclination to do a press properly or show any kind of urgency with even late in the game when, still on paper chasing it. But, we need more players with because I would say Mikey Moore has taken a bit of a stronger role, a role that's maybe someone a few years above his current age. We need more players in that team to do it, and the problem is they're not there, and we can't make folk be who they're not. We're going to have to buy these type of players. We need players with more experience, more leadership qualities, and aren't basically afraid to play for this club. You talked about Max Aarons earlier on in the season saying, well, we get too scared playing in front of the home crowd or whatever. But I think one of these things with Mikey Moore actually coming out and playing decently the last month or so, I would love to see if we could get him for a second season. That's how much of an impression he's made on me in the last couple of weeks. But it's not fair on him to be kind of burdened with the responsibility of being the only kind of creative outlet for the team.
Would you be going along with that, Billy J, that we should be looking to try and bring Moore back? Another question, would Spurs be willing to send him back, considering where we could possibly be? Finished third in the league this year. European football for us is going to be very, very difficult next season. I think, really, truth be told, Spurs aren't going to send a boy like that up here to play domestic football in Scotland. They want him on the European stage.
I mean, I think you're right there, actually, Ryan. I think if I was the manager at Spurs who's looking after, on-loan player development, a year up in Scotland to toughen him up, had we been, any danger of going into the Champions League, you might give him a second year. But to be honest, I would have thought a year in Scotland and then maybe they start even bringing him into the first team squad. But I don't think he's going to benefit from 2 years playing in Scotland. And what he looks like just now, he looks like someone's taken, like an engine part from a Maserati and stuck it in a Fiat Punto. He clearly can. He clearly could operate at a much higher level if he had better players around him. And I don't actually fault Danny Rule for trying to play him through the middle, where he's looked like doing something when most of our forward players don't. But fair play, he looked game yesterday. But you are literally looking at an 18-year-old kid going, right, I've got to take on 6 players to get a shot away, and you can do that, once or twice, but it's no way to win a game of football because you're basically go on score as a worldie. I like his attitude. I didn't mind him playing up there, but it's the senior players around him that I think are the issue. The senior players are letting him down. And if I was Mikey Moore, again, his attitude's fine. If I was Mikey Moore's agent or Spurs, I wouldn't, maybe you might put him to a league side or something next season, but I suspect he might be pushing to get into their first team squad the next year or two. But back up in Scotland for another year of this, it wouldn't be me.
Yeah, I agree more. So we'll move on to Hearts' first goal. A poor kick out by Butland. He's tried to spread the play. I think he was aiming towards Aarons to flick on. He's obviously been beaten in the air as he more often than not is. And Raskin's had a kind of half-hearted tackle that's went out for the corner. Now, the criminal side of it, Billy, is why is the player, I think it was possibly Jaden McComa, don't quote me on that though, but somebody's left out 2v1 against these. Now, they've obviously got the taker. They're going to play it short and they put it in there. We've got a set piece coach. We've got a guy who's actually on salary with us, that his job is to make us perform better at set pieces. And we can't even do something as basic as have 2 against 2 at a corner kick. What is going on there?
I mean, I don't want to jump down I can't remember the guy's name who's come in, but I don't want to kind of jump on bashing him too soon, if you know what I mean. It's still early doors. There's not been a lot of time on the training field, but you're right that the basics haven't been covered. But I generally don't think it's anything other than the players' fault themselves for it's like they've never played football before and they've just been told what the rules are and then they're forgetting what they're meant to be doing, and it's that I don't know if you were in the chat mentioning something, Ryan, yesterday, but it was like they probably rather take a corner over a penalty with us at the moment because we're so bad at defending them. Despite having a couple of taller players, we've got too many small players, as you say, Magoma, Raskin, small. I know Mikey Moore's not tiny, but he's not on the bigger side either. And the guys that can influence it seem to be on the wrong players. The bigger players that seem to be marked by the 5'2" players on our team. So I don't know where. I mean, they say they look at these things back. This isn't the only time that goal has been scored against us. So I don't know why it's not being addressed. And I can't say if it's definitely down to this set piece coach, Ryan, because he's only just been in the door. And I also, as I was saying, think it's the players that are just not executing any form of plan. But anyway, it does work when you get Fernandes coming on the end of a corner for us. That's clearly been worked on, or Raskin as well, getting a ball at the front post. That's been worked on. It doesn't seem like the defensive side has been worked on, and that's probably where we need it.
Do you go along with that, Billy J?
Yeah, exactly the point that Billy made there was about to say it looks like Scott Fry's actually targeted the attacking side of things, because we look, it's not super complex, but we're looking effective. We're looking like free kicks into the box. We're getting, Fernandes in the end of them, or we're getting, like the almost scoring a goal yesterday, or Raskin doing that. I mean, admittedly, as Billy Dodds will tell you, Billy Dodds is the one who trained Nicholas Raskin to do that front post run, and Billy Dodds will tell you that all day long on Radio Scotland while Billy Dodds is looking for a job. But I don't like Billy Dodds, as you may have gathered. But in terms of the defensive side of things, like as a coach, you've got to come in and assume a basic level of competence. Like, you cannot be a set piece coach who's going, well, I need to tell you that if there's a 2-on-1, one of you needs to go out to cover that. That is so basic that either we've got some real duds in this side, or maybe they're still like in the deprogramming phase of being in the cult of Russell Martin. I don't know what it is, but frankly, it's embarrassing. If you were playing with your mates and you saw that, you'd be screaming at someone to get out and cover it. Instead, you've got a guy whipping in across actually from the edge of the 18-yard box because he's been able to stroll into space, and what do you know, they get a goal from that. And looked like they were targeting that. Looked like they knew they would get a 2-on-1. That's kind of worrying. That basics like that. It's not getting too far ahead, but times in the game yesterday, it was like watching like a school match in terms of some of the stuff we were doing. So yeah, I'm hoping that he's prioritised the attacking side of things. He's prioritised the setup at corners, and maybe Scott Fry's had a bit of a shock. He's going, holy crap, this is worse than I thought. And this week they'll actually be drilling the stuff that they should have learned when they were playing under 12 football.
Billy, do you think we've actually got the personnel in the building to stop this happening? Because we're playing yesterday with 3 centre-halves. We've got Fernandes, we've got Sterling, and Tavernier's filling in at centre-half there. And we still can't stop losing goals. If I had £1 for every cross that we've lost, I think we were out in Bruges. I think something like 4 of their 6 goals actually came from crosses in the first half. It's madness that we can't defend. And I'm looking, the common denominator, to be honest with you, is Jack Butland. Jack Butland is he's 6 foot odd there. And there was one in particular yesterday where the cross came in and the ball seemed to be in the air for an absolute eternity. But he was quite happy for Jayden McComas to try and win the header for the boy, rather than looking and saying, right, where's this going? Who's it going to land on? Right, it's going on to Jayden's head. He's smaller. If it was going on to Manny Fernandes' head, maybe I'll say, right, the big man can deal with it. He's a defender. But he doesn't seem to want to help his defenders at all from crosses.
I think he's, since last season, been the kind of downfall in his performances. He has improved, yeah, but I think he's too much in his own head now. He's now too worried about him making a mistake because he was calamitous last season, let's face it. And then yesterday, I don't think the Shankland goal should be beating him at any goalkeeper really, but that's beside the point. But he seemed very reluctant to come for things, whether it's a ball's on the deck or whether it's, as you say, balls in the air. When he does come for it, he's usually punching, and it never seems to come off particularly well. It was like a game, the Hibs game, he tried one that towards the end, I think, put us under pressure when we didn't need it. He could have comfortably caught it. So I think it's probably in his head is the real issue. He's got the ability, he's got the height, and he's got the experience, but he's too worried about making a mistake, I think.
Yep. Billy J, we'll go into the goal, the Shankland goal in a wee second there. But see, before we do, guys, just want to make a wee mention here. Scotty's put a wee thing up here saying that we're actually touching distance away from 5,000 subscribers, which is, to be honest with you, unbelievable. The support that the Rangers family's given us towards this podcast has been great. So If you wouldn't mind, guys, like, subscribe, tell your family, your friends, we're obviously free of charge. We're on almost every single night of the week, and if you wouldn't mind just popping a wee subscribe here, particularly on YouTube, as being honest, that's where the Rangers Journal does make its money from. Watching us on X and Facebook and stuff like that, although it is appreciated, doesn't actually make us any money. So if you wouldn't mind, pop a wee like on YouTube, and we'll be here as often as we can, and hopefully better news in the future with this one. But Billy G, I'll come at you this there. So the Shankland goal, it's another one. There's a foul in the middle of the park. The ball's come up. Barron's fouled Devlin, I think it was. Again, they've just loaded the box. They know what they can do. They realise how weak we are from crosses, and they've literally just punted the ball. Rangers have tried to play a high line. I think we're about 2 or 3 yards out from the 18-yard line. We don't even win the first header. Diamandi, who for me does absolutely nothing in our Rangers jersey, is a waste of a place at this moment in time. Somebody goes over the top of him. I think it was Fernandes. The ball gets there. It lands to Shankland, and he's cut it in from probably about a 20-degree angle. Talk me through it, mate. You're muted, pal.
I've got to be honest, I'm normally someone that actually stands up for keepers, especially when a ball's leathered at them from 6 or 8 yards, because a lot of the time people will go, oh, he should have done better there. And you go, well, actually, the guy's hearing in and goal. He's hit the ball at 100 kilometres an hour. What's he going to do at that distance? There's just no defending that. It's it gets worse every single time you look at. It's bad the first time, and then you watch it and you watch it and you keep watching it, and it's like he seems to go. It's almost like I don't know what he's setting himself for, because when you see it from the angle facing Jack Butland, it's almost like he's setting himself to make himself big, and then suddenly realises, oh, that's not what I need to be doing here. I should be down. And by the time you see it rippling through his brain, down through into his body, the net's bulging. It's Jack Butland is the weirdest keeper I've ever seen at Rangers. He's so streaky. He goes through phases where he looks like a great keeper and nothing's getting past him, and he can almost pull off McGregor-esque saves. And then he just becomes his own blooper compilation. And it's like every week you're going, how's that guy a professional goalkeeper? I can see it's his career now in microcosm. Comes in, has a couple of good years, then just goes off the boil. He's come into Rangers. He's been great. He's been off the boil. He looked like he was back on a game, and now looks like he's heading back into one of those runs where he might be back on the bench soon. There's no defending it. I mean, it doesn't matter if the guy, so Lon Shankland's leathered it from a tight angle. That's embarrassing for any professional keeper. And like I say, my starting point was to go, well, wait a minute, he's only about 8 yards away, and he's absolutely just put his foot through that. He's hit and hoped in some ways, but it doesn't matter at that angle, and you cannot get beat. And that's been 2 or 3 things now Butland's done in the last few weeks where I'm starting to wonder, is it going into his head again? Is he going to start just throwing in one a week? So I in the summer, I was happy to see him go if we could have got maybe 3 million for him. He's talking about saying he would be happy to extend his time at Rangers. Unless we can't get someone better, I would be looking at it. He's not great with the ball at his feet. He's streaky. I would rather have a steady keeper who gives you a 7 out of 10 than a keeper that's giving you 9 out of 10 a couple of weeks and 2 out of 10 other weeks, because you need your defence to have trust in the guy behind you. And with the best will in the world, just now, he's not giving them that.
Thank you, mate. I'm going to bring a wee question up here from Graham Hannah here. The question is, guys, what foot does Butland predominantly kick with? I, for some reason, see Jack Butland. Now, I watch him in the warm-up before the game starts, and everything he's doing, he's kicking with his right foot. He's kicking from the ground. He's punting. Everything he's done with his right foot. And then the game starts, and all of a sudden he thinks he's bloody Davy Cooper. He thinks he's got a left foot like a magic wand, and he's trying to kick the ball out with his left foot for some reason. And he's not as if he's under pressure. I know sometimes back passes will come to him, and he's under pressure, and he's got to basically just get his left foot through it, and because he's getting shut down or whatever. But he's choosing to kick with his left foot. He's actually doing it deliberately. And I'll show you this slide here, which just came, and I think this is where Rangers completely went wrong yesterday. Our passing act, the amount of times that we gave the ball away yesterday was unbelievable. and you can actually see Jack Butland down there at 64% passing accuracy. That's our goalkeeper. His passing accuracy has got to up in the 90s. If he misplaces his pass, he's the first guy. It instantly puts us under pressure. His passing accuracy needs to be higher. Now, I can understand the guys in the last third. I'm not looking for somebody like maybe Mikey Moore to have a high passing accuracy because I want him to be creative. Gassama, Asgard, boys like that. I expect them passing accuracy to be slightly low because they're trying to create and obviously passes are getting cut out and stuff like that. Jack Butland is probably usually only passing the ball about 10 to 15 yards. He's clipping out into fullbacks or he's passing the ball 5 or 6 yards between centre halves. There is no way in God's earth his passing accuracy should be down at 64%. Not a chance. But guys, Billy, I'll let you run through that. The passing accuracy. Tell me in particular yourself. I'm looking at Max Aarons there at 71%, Tavernier at 79%. It's just not good enough, mate.
No, and these players are the ones that are usually passing it back between themselves, so the passing accuracy should be a lot better than that. James Tavernier shouldn't be attempting a pass over 5 foot, in my opinion, because he's just so bad now. And I'm not going to jump on I'm not a Tav hater, but I do see what's in front of me. I see with my eyes that he's not the player he was, and we need better than that. We need better all over the park, but particularly because he has been someone we've relied on for so long. But I mean, I'd be interested to know. I'm sure maybe Doug could bring it up for us if he gets a chance to see what his passing accuracy was like in previous seasons, because I can't imagine it was as bad as this. I mean, even I don't know if a corner counts as a pass, but every single corner he takes goes to one of their players or is overhit, and that's not just in yesterday's game, whatever. But he's a shadow of himself, and I mean, you're looking at Jack Butland as well. Surely most of his passes must be around players at the back, and to be as low as 64% is telling in itself. That, and to go on to your foot question, I can't understand. If you're right in saying that he's deliberately choosing to play with his left foot when he's right-footed, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's to try and he's wanting to appear better with his left foot or get better at it. But you need to do that in the training field. You don't do that on a game where you're passing the ball away and then losing a goal 30 seconds later.
There was one last season at Parkhead, and he shanked the ball out with his left foot, and whoever it is for them has picked the ball up in the middle of the park and they've worked it away out onto the right-hand side, and they've crossed it in, and Maeda beat Tavernier and Sterling to a header at the back post. And as soon as he went in, I was like, that's that idiot again, trying to kick the ball with his left foot when he doesn't have to do it. And I'm sorry for calling him an idiot, that's maybe a wee bit harsh, but I'm a bit upset about the way that he's performing at this moment in time, because I think from a Rangers goalkeeper, we needed him to save that goal yesterday. He had to stop that Shankland one. And I don't care if he puts his foot out, his shin out, whatever he has to. He has to get that ball round the post yesterday for us. And potentially it's one that's cost us the league. And it's as serious as that. That absolute howler is our season yesterday, maybe. And it's hopefully I'm wrong, but it's just not good enough. It's
Ryan,
just...
remember a couple of seasons ago, maybe it was a 55 season, and we played Celtic at Ibrox, and they were constantly putting the ball out because they were going through their troubles at the time. It feels like the same with us now that we're. I don't know how to really describe it, but there's no belief in that. You know, the players don't believe they're going to make it this pass, go to where they intended to be, and it's the same with Butland. But that is, if he's choosing to kick with a foot to the detriment of the, we still don't know why he's choosing to do it that way, but to the detriment of the team, where either the ball goes out, like a comment there, or we're under pressure because it goes to one of their players, and instantly they're kind of down our throats. But he's not learning from it, and that's the problem. You see, this happened last season, and he's not changed anything this season. He's been a bit better form. I would say he's been a lot better form this season, but he's still got performances like yesterday in him. And I say season-defining performances. Yeah.
Before I come to you, Billy, just something I want to point out, and I would ask everyone who's watching just now to hopefully kind of realise what I've realised. We can't bring a shy back onto the park. The amount of times that I've the balls went off, and the amount of time it takes is because all we do is give them time to recover and get a breather and actually get themselves back into formation, and their leaders on the park will organise and stuff. We're terrible at shying the ball onto the park. Every time that we take a shy, more often than not, we're losing possession. And that is the most basic thing. I used to teach my amateur football team
Ryan,
about taking shies.
Based on last season, but within 30 seconds of a shy, we lost the ball 90% of the time. So it's not something it's not something new. It's, as you say, it's been going on a good few seasons, and the lack of urgency about getting the ball back in and waiting for Tav to come over and take it, it's still there, and we've been talking about it for seasons.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, there's not really much of the second half that I'd like to talk about, to be honest with you. Big Tremiti's obviously get his second goal. Do you reckon he should have started before Miovski? I think he's maybe the manager saying a bit of a risk on Miovski.
I mean, I could have seen the value in starting with Tremiti as a sort of focal point, but it's like he's part of a football player. You know, he's like a big guy up front, but he doesn't have the instincts of a striker. I know he scored yesterday, but that goal was like park football again. It's like three guys chasing the ball, and it kind of breaks for him, and he puts it past the keeper. I don't think it was phenomenal striking play. I think if Miovski was fit, given look back at if we'd left him on the bench yesterday and he could have played, look at the goals he scored the last couple of games, would have been nuts not to have him involved, especially when Tremiti doesn't look like a striker. But it's easy with hindsight. I'm just not sure there's any way that Danny Rule rejigs that and gets a win yesterday, because at the end of the day, Hearts are a limited side. Hearts have dropped, 13 points this season, which for them is overperforming, but for an Old Firm team challenging for the league is underperforming. But they're a cohesive unit. And I said I think it was Friday, that Derek McInnes has got better as a manager as he's got older, but he's still a limited manager. But he's canny enough to know to exploit weaknesses in a side, and we are riddled with them. And all they had to do was basically gradually keep the pressure on, gradually keep the press on, keep applying pressure, and we would make mistakes and we would give them chances. And I know we had the stats up about passing. Like I think those are some pretty blunt stats. I don't think they really tell us the story, because a lot of the passing yesterday was like basically working it back to Jack Butland because Hearts were closing us down, or it was players turning. I don't mind someone having 80% pass success rate if they're playing killer passes and 1 in 2 or 3's putting the striker through. I don't mind playing risky passes and getting a lower percentage success rate, but that's not what we were getting yesterday. It was like disjointed. It was like bits of a team, whereas Hearts, as limited as they may be, they were cohesive, and they looked. The thing that kills me about this, and I think it touches on what you're talking about, Ryan, is we are bumbling about taking throw-ins like we're actually happy to get a breather, and we kind of don't know what we're going to do. You looked at the Hearts players; they had a glint in their eye yesterday. They were after something. They were after a win because they think they're making history, because they're chasing something. They had a mentality and an attitude that's just not in our team. Like we didn't bring in leaders that can supplement the young players. The young players may not be good enough. We brought in the wrong manager, and what we're looking at is basically a bunch of spare parts just now. So I don't think Tremiti, Miovski, Moore, like Danilo, I think you could have probably played 12 or 13 players, put all our strikers on. I'm still not sure we'd get a draw out of that game.
Would I ask you now, mate, that obviously you're saying we had the wrong manager at the start. Do you think we've got the right manager now?
Honestly, I'm not sure we do. And it's a question for me, if we're going to do a rebuild, do we have the cojones to do a rebuild where we say, right, let's stop doing this thing where we give a pile of money to a rookie manager and they go off on their project, and when it falls apart, we bring in an experienced manager a la Clement to try and mop it up. And then the same this season, we did that with Beale and then Clement. This season it was going to be Russell Martin, and then we were trying to get in Muscat and Gerrard to try and mop up the mess. How about we actually get an experienced manager who's won stuff and give him the war chest and let him do the rebuild? No harm to Danny Rule, but the guy had 89 games before he came to manage Rangers. He hasn't won anything. He might turn out to be a very good coach. He might turn out to be a winner. But I don't think he's got the profile for Rangers. And I think he's a scratch card manager at the moment. The first panel comes off and it's like, oh, we might have won something here. Well, he improved us. The second panel is coming off and it's looking like, okay, it's limited. What we're hoping is the third panel comes off and we've won a jackpot. And I just think after 89 games managing Sheffield, you're not a Rangers manager. And I wonder if the Stevie G interview, which you'd trailed earlier, might be a wee bit of just reminding people he's out there. Should we have the balls to actually go back to square one for the start of next season? That'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I feel sorry for Danny Rowe, and I don't particularly blame him for it. There's elements of his team selection and some of his substitution that I think could be better. But like you said, he's a young manager still learning his trade. But this Rangers team has yet to impress me since he's came in. Everything that they've done, they've beaten Kelly twice. Kelly are in a terrible run. Kelly are having a really rotten season. There's every possibility they're going to get relegated this season. We've had a couple of scrappy wins against Hibs. We've lost the cup semi. We get played with by Roma in Europe. We went out to Ferencváros and not even laid a glove. We've drawn with Falkirk. We've scored last minute goals against Dundee United. We're getting beaten at Tynecastle. We're still miles off it. And truth be told, we're probably kidding ourselves on. And I'm going to ask you this is a question that's going for Scotty here. Billy, are we kidding ourselves on that we had any possibility of challenging for this league? Did that form table that we were all looking at and we're all referencing to, did it flatter us?
No, I don't. I mean, it's facts, isn't it? And that Ben Shapiro line, facts don't care about your feelings. So we were winning those games and we were picking up more points than we did under Russell Martin. Where I think the league's not over is because in 8 days' time or so we get a chance to bring in players. Not with it. There is no way that squad, the team currently, is a championship winning team, or even I think we'd struggle for third place. I think Motherwell might even could pip us if we don't improve that team. But what we do have is some kind of finance clout that we can go out and bring in a few players that would improve. But as you said, you mentioned Diamande earlier on. I don't really rate him. I don't think he's done anything for us, and there's absolutely no surprise to me, especially in his recent form, that he's not going to the AFCON. So I don't think the league's over. I don't necessarily think this team in its current form is capable of doing it, but I'm ever hopeful that we'll bring some 4 to 5 players in that will improve. If I can go back on Danny Rule, I think you've seen Gerrard. The interview yesterday was, I think, it was Billy saying, reminding us that he's still there because the impediment to him coming to us is now gone, and that was Stilwell, obviously.
Yeah. We'll talk openly about the Gerrard interview. It was on the agenda to speak about tonight, so it's topical. So let's get on with it.
I mean, to be fair, I've only seen like the headline ones that we didn't push the boat out and sign Veerman when we could have, and fair enough on one point, but he wasn't backed in that particular transfer. But he didn't want to sell anyone, and we're not a club that can just go out and we're just going to buy these £6 million players like Ryan Kent and never try to sell any of them on to make some money back. So I do think he's maybe been a bit disingenuous with that one. As much as I think I did like Veerman at the time, I don't like him since then. He came back the following year, and I felt he just was a bit of a wee rat, wasn't he? But he is a good player. Was he just went for 20 million?
I've seen there was a rumour he was maybe going to Fenerbahce and stuff like that.
There's no guarantee that he would have been a success for us. And the year we beat him when Gerrard wanted them, that midfield was better than him, and I would say. But it's as I say, I'm not saying everything in the Gerrard interview. I just got the impression, like when he was saying that this was him reminding folk that he was still there. But it's very hard to justify giving the job to someone who's turned it down twice already before. So, does he deserve another shot at going for it? He could have come in, settled the ship, and believed in himself that he would outlive Thirlwell and Stewart, because he must have known the fans were against him. So there was a chance he wouldn't be there any longer. As regards Danny Rule, we've done over the summer, mate. We did how many videos on managerial prospects? The type of manager that I feel should be a Rangers manager, and that's a la Walter Smith, an older guy that's won things, isn't really there. So we're only in the position to go with. Either we go with McInnes and get a Scottish manager, the St Mirren manager as well, look decent on paper, but we don't do that because we're a bit too snobby, aren't we? We go for the foreigners, and Danny Rule, I guess, wasn't even second choice, but he's there now. I'm not so quick to want rid of him or to think that he does need to go, but it does need to be. It can't just be all his players' decisions. It does need to be players that make sense for us. psychologically as well as skill based, because we're going to need people that can deal with the crowd's eyebrows. We're going to need people that can pull games up by the scruff of the neck kind of thing. So I'm not writing him off yet. His CV didn't fill me with great confidence. But Gerrard didn't have a great CV either. Obviously, he was working as an under-18s manager, and he was successful for us after getting 4 seasons to, run at it. So whether he'll get the time, I don't know. I would be very surprised if we do turn back to Gerrard even in the summer.
Yeah, I think the board are obliged to back Danny Rowe. He was a board appointment. Kavanagh and Parag done the interviews for it. Stewart and Felwell were basically told they weren't going to be involved in the interview process, which obviously rightly so, because the writing was on the wall for both of those guys. So they're obliged to open their wallets for him. They're the ones that have brought him to the club. He is working with somebody else's toolbox. The toolbox is an absolute disgrace. It might be well made of chocolate and plasticine. He really needs to be backed, and you need to give the guy the opportunity. We as supporters need to give him a bit of time and stuff. I know I'm kind of highlighting things that haven't been great, but that's just purely out of frustration, because all I want to see on the park is a winning Rangers team, and I want to be able to go to my work on a Monday with a sense of pride. My mate who I work with is actually a part-time Hearts supporter, purely because he doesn't want to support either Rangers or Celtic, so Hearts are the next best thing. So I was expecting a text from him, but he's stayed away from me, probably for his own benefit. Billy J, have you actually seen the Gerrard interview yourself? Have you managed to take it in?
I only saw bits of it, and one thing I would actually disagree with is that we need to give Danny Rowe the opportunity. I'm not saying that's wrong. I've got a mental flowchart here, which is, do we give Danny Rowe the opportunity? And the wee arrow comes out and it goes, is he our best chance of winning the league? And if the answer to that is yes, we give him the opportunity. If the answer to that is actually there's now a better management team available, then this is Rangers. We're not here to like Corinthian spirit, give someone a good go and see if we can develop them. If Gerrard, and I know Cassie in Cassie in the comments was pleading with us not to talk about Gerrard, but I'm using him as an example. You've got Muscat as well, so there are people with experience of being winners. If he's the best chance of winning the league, then like Danny Rowe goes, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying Gerrard is, but if you're Andrew Kavanagh and Parag Marat, these guys are hard-nosed. They were very close to getting rid of Daniel Farke, as far as we were led to believe, until the fans kind of rallied round the manager at Leeds. If you're Andrew Kavanagh, and let's sort of hypothesise here, but if you're Andrew Kavanagh and you sat down with Gerrard a few months back and he said, I'll take the job, but I can't work with Thelwell and Stewart. I can't work with them. And Kavanagh at that point has said, well, these are my guys. I can't just sack my kind of my management team just to suit you. He might be, if you're Kavanagh or Marat sitting 2 months down the line, you might be going, Gerrard knew what he was talking about. He could see it even before we could. Maybe that is the kind of ruthless mentality you want. So I'm not. Danny Rowe hasn't done anything massively wrong, and I don't think anything that goes. I don't think yesterday, for example, or how the rest of the season goes even is down to Danny Rowe. He's come into a horrible situation. He didn't have a pre-season. These are not his players. They are a bunch of very confused football players, a very lopsided squad, and he's been left to try and kind of like turn this bin fire into something else. But if Parag Marat and Andrew Kavanagh are doing their job, they should be looking at January and also looking at the summer and saying, what is the best chance of Rangers winning the league next season? Is it Danny Rowe, in which case back him? Is it Danny Rowe until the summer and then get someone else in? I can't be emotional about this. I'm fed up seeing managers with no background, like your Michael Beales, coming in and being given Rangers as a project to try and kind of build their reputation on. I know Steven Gerrard was like a youth team coach, but he was a winner. Muscat is a winner. There's nothing guaranteed. We don't even know if Danny Rowe's a winner yet. We just know he's a promising coach. I want winners at Rangers.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm hopefully going to put this Gerrard thing to bed for me. I was very vocal on the pod, supportive of him coming back. He's a hero of mine. I respect what he did. He stopped Terry Monroe. He laid the foundations for a team that got us to Seville. in 2022 for Gio and stuff like that. But truth be told, right, he turned around and said that the timing wasn't right for him. I don't care if the timing's not right for him. The timing was right for us. We needed him, and we made the call, and we asked him, and he came for an interview. We were on our backside, our worst run in our history. We've got a bunch of donuts playing for us. We needed somebody who would come in and galvanise us as a support, unite the team. And he walked away from it. He turned his back on us. He said he wouldn't come. The timing wasn't right for him. Tough. The timing was right for us. We needed him, and he didn't come. So see, for me, it's done. Never again.
But in the interview, he says, like, I think the timing thing, when it came out, was cover, because what he says in this interview is you only take the job on if you think you've got the tools to be successful. And he's now saying, I'm not advocating for Gerrard. It could be McInnes, it could be Robinson, it could be Muscat. But what he's now saying, with a wee bit of distance, is you need the tools to be successful. If you're Steven Gerrard and you're looking at Kevin Thelwell being the guy who does the recruitment, and you look at the duds he's brought in, you'd be mad to take that on if Kevin Thelwell's still in place. That's all I'm saying. And I don't want anyone to think I'm a Gerrard acolyte, because there are other alternatives. I'm just saying as a for example. So just to kind of put the alternative there.
Yeah. Listen, I'm under no illusion as well. We'd actually maybe possibly in a position here where we're actually trying to stop Terry Monroe again. That's generally that's the severity of the situation that we're in just now. And we're probably in a situation now this season we're probably actually trying to do everything we possibly can to help Hearts win the league. Because that's how bad things have actually got for us. We're trying to do everything in our power to stop Celtic win the league. If that means we need to help Hearts win the league, so be it. Because that's realistic.
Celtic are doing everything they can as well to not win the league.
Well, I know. But anyway, listen, speaking of the mob across the road, I was shocked, Billy. I paid for the club's tickets there. I'm the treasurer of my supporters club, and the money came in basically that we had to pay for the tickets for the game on the 3rd of January. £53 a skull, mate. Do you think that's value for money for a supporter? Do you think that's going a bit too far and asking for a lot of money?
I mean, I don't think I'd take a ticket there. I don't want to go back there anyway. But that's not your question. It's dear, mate. But I mean, are we not just so used to everything being dear now? Everything's been up in price. I mean, you can't even go to a concert anymore without it costing you £100 or more, depending on who it is. I remember going to the ticket counter in Virgin Records and getting tickets for like £5 and £8 to these things, but the price of everything is just skyrocketed. I wouldn't pay it myself, but I'm not surprised that's, and they're going to, you said it about the American owners, they're going to get squeeze every bit of pennies out of us that they can.
Well, it won't be the American owners that's setting the price. It's the team across the road that's setting the price.
No. But you mentioned yourself in a pod I've done with you previously that that when they're looking to squeeze money. So I don't see it being any different over there. You don't happen to know how much we charge them normally, do you?
I don't think it would have to similar, to be honest with you. And I'm maybe not speaking as a Rangers fan just now, but more as a football fan.
Yep.
Is charging people in this day and age £53 to watch a game of football right? Because for me, that's far too dear. That's far too dear.
It's not. It doesn't come down to what's right and wrong, mate. It comes down to what they'll get away with, and they'll get away with charging that for that game, and they'll probably get away with charging 10, 15 quid more in the future.
Aye, and also just for reference, I wouldn't go over there even if it was for free. But anyway, Billy G, what's your thoughts on the ticket pricing for the Old Firm game on the 3rd of January?
I'm sort of in the Rangers star territory along with Billy in this. Like I remember getting tickets to see, take my brother to see Oasis in Aberdeen in '96 or something for 17 quid. So, like 53 quid. So, and I'm lucky. All the bands I like are extremely unpopular. So I get to go to gigs and it's like 20 quid. I feel sorry for the bands, but it's great for me. I mean, to be honest, the world we live in, if you take anchoring that idea that, you set ridiculous prices and then lower prices don't look that bad, 53 quid for an Old Firm game is not cheap, and it's pricing out like regular punters. You then compare it to what people are paying for concert tickets, Taylor Swift concert tickets and nonsense like that, like 1,300 quid to be standing with a worse view than you get at Hampden. For me, I'm the same as you, Ryan. I think it should be priced. The fans are the lifeblood, and they give the atmosphere, and they're why the TV want to cover it as well. So I think almost fans going to the match nowadays in Scotland and other places should almost be subsidised, because if you price it so that it's only Not with Rangers so much as like down south. If you price it so that it's only like really rich fans that can go, kills the atmosphere. You just end up with day trippers, tourists, and sort of like people who are there to enjoy the spectacle rather than folk who are kind of like really into the game. So I think football has to be careful if it goes down this route of pricing out regular passionate fans. It's going to actually impact the product, and then that's going to affect everybody. So 53 quid. I'd probably pay it, but I'm stuck out in Sweden, so I'm desperate to see Rangers play anywhere. I do think like 40, 45 quid seems like more a reasonable price for watching Scottish level football.
Ryan, can I come in on it as well?
Of course, we kept so.
Yeah, because it's not even like it's the final fun game of the season, and it's going to be some way decide what's going to happen to the league. We're both not great at the moment. So it's not even like a great. It's going to be a great spectacle of football that you think I can't miss that. I'm going to pay the 55 quid for it because it's really just a run of the mill mid-season. Well, I wouldn't even say run of the mill because I don't know any other season when we've certainly not since back in Aberdeen and Dundee United times when they were winning leagues that a game that I was kind of so uninfused for it. I'm hoping that we do get a couple of signings in the first day of January, and that's what makes me kind of get up for this game. But maybe it's just a disappointment of yesterday, but it certainly seems like that's pretty steep for watching two teams that are rubbish at the moment.
Well, I was going to come on to signs a wee second. Just to finish off on the ticket pricing, the question I would be asking if I was Rangers and this ticket price was obviously, because we're collecting the money on their behalf and passed it on to them for the tickets, I would be asking them, how much were you charging Falkirk when Falkirk came to you? How much were you charging Livingston's away fan? How much were you charging Dundee United? What were they away fans paying to go to Parkhead? And why is there so much? Why is there this Rangers tax that exists within Scottish football? Whenever we want to sign a player domestically, all of a sudden their value triples. Why does the Rangers tax exist? But that would be certainly the question the club should be asking. If we're asking the club to defend our fan base and speak up for us as fans, then this is the kind of thing you should be asking. Why is this so much money? So, and an agreement probably needs to be, I think 20 is plenty for an away ticket. I think across the board as policy within Scottish football, any away ticket should only be £20. Regardless of who you are, where you're going, whatever ground you're going to, £20 should be a standard rate, a fixed flat rate. But anyway, I'll stick with you, Billy. Santa Claus is coming to town, as we know. 3 wishes you're getting granted for your Rangers transfer window in January. Talk me through your 3 wishes you would like to see. Is this me? Aye. This is you, Santa. You've been a good boy this year, Billy. Well, you're going to get 3 players in the January transfer window. Not necessarily names, but profile players you would like to see. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say my first wish would be to have a few more wishes because I think we need more than 3 coming in, to be honest with you, mate. I think it certainly seems on paper vital for a left back because we only have one. I'm not so, once G gets back and we've got players that could cover that. So it's not the most important thing for me, but I do understand you probably should not start a season with just one out and out left back, but for me, it's right down the middle, mate. It's centre half, centre mid, and centre forward. We should have enough on the wing, although it's not creating much at the moment. But we should have enough of those type of players that if we get a decent striker in, then I say we maybe need actually 2. Then that could make a big difference. But this old cliche, the spine of the team for me is the 3 players I would be, and I don't have names for you yet. But hopefully we'll do some pods on scouting videos or whatever in the next couple of weeks, but that's where I think we're lacking, certainly in the midfield. There's no dig in the midfield. We're lacking someone who can either stay fit and score goals. Even though we've got so many centre halves, they're shipping goals for fun. So it's that's my positions. Sorry if I took that off you, Billy, because I'm sure you'll be the same.
To be honest, it's difficult to disagree. What I would add to my wish list in terms of what I would like in those players, I would like a midfielder who can actually, an experienced midfielder who can actually control the pace of games or has a bit of game intelligence, someone who actually gives us shape. Like Aberdeen brought in the guys at Christensen. He's not a great player, but you saw when they brought him in that he sort of like, he gave the team shape. He had like the experience to talk to youngsters around him. So someone like that can actually, because we just look like, we've got no shape and players don't have game intelligence. So, if you could put Scotty Arfield in a time machine and punt him back 10 years and bring him in, someone like with that sort of personality, as much as the play, as much as someone that's got the kind of the experience, where we're going to get players like that, like someone like a Scott Arfield, or even, going back to someone a few years ago, even players like Lee McCulloch, players that come in and you just thought, if we're in a battle, we can look to him, because too many of the young players just look like when it's a battle, they go into themselves. Scottish football's tough. Scottish football is not like other leagues, and you need to feel like that there's someone who knows what they're doing in that team. So a central defender, central midfielder. I was getting reports about, like, I don't know if he's available. There's a striker. He's called Cyril Dessers. I've heard he's playing like somewhere. He bangs in about 20 odd a season. Just want to put the cat among the pigeons there, but in terms of what we need in the team, we need everything. So, if you were to say central midfield, central defence, and up front, then next you're going to go, well, we need a decent left back. You can't play a 19-year-old all season. Then you're going to say, well, the right backs are kind of not much, because like Tav's shot and Aaron's as a non-entity. So it's kind of like, it's what's the most important thing? Well, there's three, but I'll tell you what, Ryan, I'm going to do the classic. If I get 3 wishes for Christmas, my first wish is, can I have like 22 wishes, please? And I'll rebuild that squad for you.
Maybe need more than 22, mate. Where things are going. For me, but I think we're screaming out. We're one short in the middle of the park. I think Barron is doing really well. Barron's really playing above himself at this moment in time. I think he's come in the last kind of few games. I think the wee man's been absolutely brilliant. His effort. He's doing really, really well. But he gets into the last third and he gets a nosebleed, and it's just not his area of expertise. He's never going to be a goal-scoring midfielder. But by God, does the wee man work hard, and he gives 110% every single game. Raskin at this moment in time, I've got no idea what is going on with him. He is so far off the boil. He needs to come out of the team, to be honest with you. And I think we need a number 10. And Mikey Moore's doing well, but Mikey Moore's a luxury product at this moment in time, and he's not going to be there long term. We need to get somebody in. Taylor Asgard is not the answer. Mohamed Diamande is not the answer for somebody that's going to. We need somebody else in there that can actually take the ball and drive forward. And I think we need 2 strikers, because I don't think any of the 3 that we've got just now are anywhere near good enough to, that Majowski's come in and he started to show a bit. Right, fine. Majowski, truth be told, I think is our 3rd choice striker, for somebody that can come in and do okay. Tramiti is never a Rangers player in a million years. He's just not good enough. He'll never will be good enough. There's so much work that needs to be done in that young man to make him a football player, and we don't have time to do it. And Danilo, for me, pound for pound, is one of the worst signings in our history. For the £6 million transfer fee, a £7.5 million 5-year contract, for me, is appalling. It's really, really bad work that we've done, and really bad business. We need to score goals, and there's comments here about defence and stuff like that. Defence will be fine. Goals win you games, and we need to focus on scoring more goals, because we're not scoring enough, we're not creating enough. So, and I don't care if we win every single game 4-3 to the end of the season, see, as long as we're winning, but we need to score goals to be winning games. So that's it. But listen, we'll get wrapped up, guys. Before we go, if anyone is lucky enough, and I've very much been lucky to be going out to Lanzarote over the next few weeks, because it is absolutely freezing here and it's pouring down with rain most places. If you're lucky enough to be going out to Porto del Carmen and Lanzarote for your best of time, then I'd ask you to pop in, see Kenny and the guys. A family-friendly bar. They serve Tennent's Lager. They show every game of the famous. The team will look after you. I think they also serve food, so get yourself in there. You'll be more than welcome. You're guaranteed to have a great night. If you tell them that the Rangers Journal sent you, I think the hospitality might be even slightly better from what I hear. So pop in, and the guys will catch up. You'll be very well looked after. We've just got one quick question before we go here from William Holmes here. Who's the most consistent player we have? Billy, quickly.
Barron at the moment. Yeah, I think he's. If you're talking consistently in a good way and not consistently bad, then yeah, it's going to be Barron. Yeah.
Billy J, just quickly.
Billy stole my thunder there. I was about to say Chermiti maybe, or Danilo, because they have been consistently mince. Consistent. I mean, Barron is playing close to his potential, but I think he's still a work in progress. And just to echo what Curry was saying there, for me, Raskin is doing just enough to stay in the team, to get to the World Cup, to get his move, and it's kind of really grating on me. So, yeah, I think at least Barron is giving you what he's got.
Yeah. I'll chuck in a wee kind of curveball there. I think Jaden McComan's done quite well for us this season, considering he's a 19-year-old or 18-year-old boy. He's come up, he's not played any first-team football from what we know. He's come into a massive club in a real pressure situation. And although he's had a couple of wee moments of lapse of concentration, stuff like that, I think that wee guy's actually done not too bad for us at all. So considering the circumstances he's been flung into, so I put McComan in there, and he's made himself available most weeks for us as well. So I'd like to put him in there for consistency, maybe not necessarily high performance, but certainly consistency at that level. But anyway, listen, we'll get wrapped up, guys. Billy, thanks very much. Billy J, thanks very much for popping on, guys. Tomorrow, I think they're on at 9:30 for a Q&A show, so go on there and catch that. And for all the viewers...
Ryan.
8:30, is it? Yep.
I think so, yeah.
The schedule will be on. If you jump onto YouTube and like and subscribe, the schedule will be there. You can even set the wee alarm so you'll get a wee notification when we come on. But just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a good New Year, and all the best when it comes to you guys. Every night is a Rangers all night. Take care.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.